Before I get into it, here's the point of this story. A lot of men think the big crisis in a marriage starts with a secret or a dramatic confession. Most of the time, it starts way earlier, with public disrespect, with little jokes that aren't jokes, with a partner testing how much you'll swallow for the sake of appearances. This is about spotting that early shift and responding like an adult. Calm, clear, and backed by real consequences. Not speeches, not begging, not, let's talk about feelings on repeat. Boundaries only matter when they change access. Access to you, your time, your resources, your presence. That's the practical focus here. How to keep your dignity when somebody tries to turn you into a prop in their image. I knew my wife's laugh. I mean the real one, not the polite dinner laugh, not the client event laugh. This one was sharp and loose, like she'd forgotten she had a husband in the room. I was standing on a rooftop in Dallas with a club soda in my hand, watching the city lights bounce off glass towers. People in suits, name tags, fake warmth, the whole corporate circus. Then I heard that laugh, her laugh, and it wasn't coming from where it should have been. I turned, and there she was. My wife, 10 years married, sitting on a man's lap like it was assigned seating. Not oops, no chair. Not just a second. She was settled, her arm hooked around his shoulder, her fingers drawing lazy circles on his jacket like she had nowhere else to be. Their faces close. The guy, Ryan, someone from her department, was soaking it up like he'd paid for the experience. And the crowd? Dozens of people. They saw it. They just decided not to see it. That's what hit me first. Not the act, but the confidence. She didn't scan the room for me. She didn't flinch. She didn't even pretend to feel awkward. I wasn't her husband in that moment. I was background. I walked over like I was crossing a lobby, not a battlefield. Calm. No hitty. No drama. My standards aren't negotiable, and I don't raise my voice to prove it. Ryan's eyes flicked up first. He tried a grin that didn't land. Nick, he said, too friendly. Hey, man. My wife looked up slowly, like I'd interrupted her show. Get up, I told Ryan. Low voice. Simple. He chuckled like I'd made a joke. Come on, get up. He started to move, but she tightened her arm around his shoulder and stayed right where she was. She looked at me and smiled like I was the one being weird. You're seriously doing this? She asked. Here. Hier. Stand up. Now. She rolled her eyes, actually rolled them, then looked around at the people nearby like she wanted witnesses. Relax, she said. It's corporate culture. You're dramatizing. Ryan finally stood, but she didn't. She slid off him slow, like she was making a point. Like she wanted everyone to see she wasn't being forced. A woman nearby pretended to be fascinated by the skyline. Two guys in suits suddenly became very interested in their phones. Everybody was allergic to reality. My wife straightened her dress, smoothed it down, and smiled at me like I was a client she had to manage. Congratulations, she said. You just made it awkward. I didn't, I replied. You did. She leaned in, voice sweet but sharp. You're tense. You always do this. You take everything and turn it into some moral lecture. I kept my face flat. We're leaving. She laughed again. No, we're not. This is important for me. Stop acting insecure. That word, insecure, wasn't a slip. It was a tool. I could hear it. She wanted me either quiet or loud. Quiet so she could keep doing what she wanted. Loud so she could point and say, see, that's him. I looked at her like I was reading a contract. We're leaving, I repeated. You can walk with me, or you can call your own ride. People heard that. I saw a couple heads turn. Good. I wasn't going to be the joke in somebody else's office story. Her smile twitched. Not fear, annoyance. Like I'd moved her furniture. Fine, she said, loud enough for a few people to catch it. Let's go. Mr. Fun. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have taken my ring off right there and saved myself the extra steps. In the elevator down, she stared at her reflection, fixing her hair like the rooftop never happened. You're unbelievable, she muttered. Ich glänzte her. That's funny. I was about to say the same. In the car, she didn't apologize. Not even a lazy one. She buckled her seatbelt and sighed like I was exhausting. You embarrassed me, she said. I stared straight ahead and pulled out of the garage. Interesting, because I watched you embarrass our marriage in front of a crowd. Oh my God, she groaned. It was playful. People do that. You're not used to it because you don't live in the real world of networking. I let a beat pass. Sitting on a man's lap is networking now. You're doing it again, she snapped, making it sound dirty. You're tense, Nick. It's not a good look. You look small. There it was. Not remorse. Not even an attempt to understand. Just a jab, right where she thought it would make me scramble. I kept my hand steady on the wheel. Don't call me small. She tilted her head. Then stop acting like it. I nodded once, slow. Got it. She looked over. Got what? That you think you can do whatever you want and then tell me how I'm allowed to react. She scoffed. I'm allowed to have fun. You're not my dad. No, I agreed. I'm not. We drove the rest of the way with the kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's a countdown. The next morning, I made coffee like normal. Toast. Eggs. Routine. Not because I was fine, because I don't let chaos dictate my behavior. She walked in wearing a sleep shirt, phone already in her hand, thumb moving. Morning, she said, like we'd argued about paint colors instead of dignity. I set a plate down and sat across from her. We're going to talk for 5 minutes. She didn't look up. About what? Your little speech? I took a sip of coffee. About respect. That got her eyes up. She smirked. There it is. I held her stare. Last night doesn't happen twice. She leaned back. Neat. No, I cut in calm. I'm not jealous. I'm not insecure. This isn't about feelings. It's about standards. She laughed softly. You sound like a podcast. I didn't blink. Second time you make me look like a joke in public. You lose access to me. Period. She stared like she was waiting for the punchline. You're threatening me? She asked. I'm informing you. I replied. Big difference. She shook her head like I was dramatic. You're such a moralist. It's exhausting. I tilted my head. You're avoiding responsibility. That's also exhausting. She stood, grabbed her mug, and walked toward the sink. I have a strategic session this week, she said over her shoulder. I don't have time for this. I watched her. Where is it? She shrugged. Out of town. Which hotel? She turned and smiled like I was being cute. Why are you interrogating me? It's work. I nodded. Send me the agenda. She waved a hand. It's being finalized. Then send it when it's finalized. She narrowed her eyes. You're controlling. I smiled once, not friendly. I'm consistent. That's why you married me. That landed. I saw it in her face. A flash of irritation. Then she switched gears. Look, she said, softer. I'm sorry you felt uncomfortable. There it was. The fake apology that doesn't touch the act. I stood and took my plate to the sink. I don't need comfort. I need respect. She scoffed. You're impossible. I turned to her. 5 minutes. You spent 4 dodging. We're done. And I meant it. No chasing her down the hallway. No, please understand. I had set my standard. Now, it was going to be enforced, not negotiated. 2 days later, she packed for her session. No printed agenda. No clear program. Just vague talk in a suitcase that looked suspiciously like it contained outfits meant for attention, not meetings. At the door, she kissed my cheek like she was checking a box. Don't be weird, she whispered. I held the door open. Don't be disrespectful. Her smile tightened. You're still on that? I'm always on that, I replied. She left, heels clicking like confidence. That evening, I was in my kitchen rinsing a glass when the doorbell rang. Not a neighbor. Not a delivery. It was too deliberate. I opened the door and saw a woman about my age, mid-30s, neat hair, plain blouse, eyes that didn't waste movement. Nick, she asked. Yes. I'm Emma, she said. Ryan's wife. I didn't step aside right away. I studied her face. No tears. No checking. Just controlled anger packed tight. Okay, I said. Why are you here? She exhaled slowly. Because I think your wife and my husband are sleeping together. She said it like she was reading a weather report. Clear, flat, deadly. I didn't react the way she probably expected. I didn't invite her in with panic. I didn't deny it with blind loyalty. I just asked the adult question. What makes you think that? Emma nodded, like she respected the approach. Messages. Late night calls. He started guarding his phone like it's a bank vault. He smiles at it. He stopped smiling at me. I kept my voice even. That's suspicion, not facts. She looked me straight in the eye. You saw her on his lap in public. That wasn't a first draft. That was a pattern. I didn't like how true that felt. I gestured toward the living room. Come in. She walked in and stayed standing. She didn't want comfort. She wanted results. My husband thinks he's clever, she continued. He started saying there are last-minute meetings, strategy sessions, team dinners, and your wife's name comes up like a coincidence. I folded my arms. You followed him? I watched, she corrected. I listened. I noticed what he thought I wouldn't. She pulled out her phone, showed me a screenshot of a message preview. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The tone was enough. Familiar, playful, too intimate for colleagues. I stared at it, then at her. Why bring this to me? Emma's expression didn't soften. Because I'm done being the quiet spouse. And because he looked like a decent man on that rooftop. Not a showman. A man who knows when something crosses a line. I held her gaze. I don't do scenes. I noticed, she said. So here's the thing. I could blow up his world tonight, but I want him to feel what he's been doing. I raised an eyebrow. Meaning? She stepped closer by half a step. Her voice dropped. Meaning you and I could answer in the same language. There it was. The test. The invitation wrapped in righteous anger. I didn't flinch. I didn't moralize. I just shut the door on it. No, I said. Emma blinked. Excuse me. I'm not becoming a copy of what I don't respect. I replied. I'm not doing anything with you. And you shouldn't be offering. Her jaw tightened. So, you just gonna what? Let them keep playing you. I walked to the counter, set my glass down carefully. I'm gonna get facts. Then I'm gonna change my life. That's how I answer. She stared at me, assessing. Then she nodded once, like she'd learned something. All right, she said. So you want facts? Yes. Emma reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. Then here's what I know so far. Dates, times, sessions, hotels. My stomach stayed steady, but my brain was already reorganizing the situation. Quietly, efficiently. I listened, asked a few precise questions, wrote nothing down. I didn't need to. I remember details when they matter. When she finished, she took a breath. He thinks I'm stupid. Your wife thinks you're manageable. That's the game. I walk her to the door. If you get real proof, bring it. Not emotions. Proof. Emma paused at the threshold. You're colder than I expected. I shrugged. I'm controlled. There's a difference. She gave a small, humorless smile. Fair. After she left, I locked the door and stood in the quiet for a moment. Not heartbroken. Not stunned. Just awake. Like someone turned on the lights in a room I'd been pretending wasn't messy. That night, my wife came home after midnight. I didn't go to bed. I didn't text her 10 times. I turned off most lights and waited in the living room. The front door opened. I heard her shoes, her keys, and that little breathy laugh people do when they're on the phone and want someone to know they're having fun. She walked in still talking, head tilted, voice low. No. I know. Stop. You're ridiculous. Then she saw me. She froze just long enough to adjust her face. She hung up and tried to act normal. Why are you sitting in the dark? She asked. You trying to be creepy now? I kept my voice calm. Where were you? She tossed her bag on the chair. Out. Team dinner. Then drinks. I nodded. Why didn't you answer your phone? She shrugged. It was loud. I leaned forward slightly. Was Ryan there? A micro pause. Barely a second. But it was real. She blinked and smiled. You're still on that guy? Wow. I watched her carefully. Was he there? She walked toward the kitchen like she was bored. Probably. It was a team thing. I nodded slowly. Emma came here today. That stopped her mid-step. Not shock. Not fear. A little amused sound came out of her. Oh, she said. Let me guess. She did the whole serious wife routine. I stayed still. She said she thinks you and Ryan are involved. My wife turned, leaning on the counter. She looked entertained. Of course she did, she said. Emma loves drama. Did she touch your arm while she said it? Did she get close, like she's auditioning? You still have to hear. How would you know what she did? My wife's smile widened. Because I know her. She's predictable. You don't know her like that? I replied. She tilted her head. Or maybe I do. I stood up. Did you really think you could keep doing this? Or do you just not care if I catch you? For the first time, her mask slipped. Not into guilt. Not into fear. Into satisfaction. It was quick, like a flash of finally. Then she covered it. You're spiraling, she said. You're making up a story. I nodded once. I'm not spiraling. I am observing. She rolled her eyes. Nick, you're not a detective. You're just tense and, honestly, kind of boring lately. I stepped closer, not aggressive, just present. You try to make this about my mood, so you don't have to answer for your behavior. She smirked. You want to answer? Fine. I like feeling wanted. I like being important. At work, that matters. You don't get it. And sitting on a man's lap is part of being important? She shrugged like it was nothing. It got attention. It got laughs. It got me noticed. I'm not going to apologize for not shrinking. You still the hair. You're not shrinking. You're erasing me. Her eyes narrowed. Don't be dramatic. I nodded. Okay. She blinked. Okay. Yeah, I said. I've got what I need. And I walked past her to the hallway, grabbed my keys, and left the house for an hour. Not to cool off. To make one point. When she disrespects me, she loses access to my time and presence. Immediate. Clean. When I came back, she was in bed, phone glowing on her face. She didn't look up. Are you done throwing your tantrum? She asked. I looked at her and smiled slightly. That wasn't a tantrum. That was me practicing life without you in my way. 2 days later, Emma texted me. Meet me. Coffee. I have what you asked for. I picked a cafe near downtown, public, quiet, no drama. That was my foreign territory, too. Not my home, not her workplace, a neutral space where nonsense dies fast. Emma was already there, a folder on the table like she was bringing taxes. She didn't greet me with small talk. I printed everything, she said. Screenshots, timestamps, reservations. I sat and opened the folder. Photos. My wife and Ryan, too close, too familiar, in places that weren't team dinners. Messages, not explicit but obvious. The kind of language married people use when they think they're untouchable. A booking confirmation for a hotel the same weekend as her strategic session. The session itself? A thin email with vague wording and no real program. A legend. I flipped through the pages slowly. Not because I was savoring pain. Because I don't move without clarity. Emma watched me, hands folded. Still calm. I glanced up. If I panic, I lose. I don't lose. She nodded. He told her you're manageable. That phrase hit. Manageable. Like I was furniture. I closed the folder. You're sure this is real? Emma slid her phone across with the original emails visible. I don't do fake evidence. That's not my style. I handed it back. Good. She leaned in slightly. So what now? You going to confront her? I shook my head. Not like she wants. Emma's eyes narrowed. What does she want? She wants a scene, I said. She wants me loud. She wants me messy. Then she can be the star of her own story. Emma sat back. So, you going to be quiet? No. Y correcta. I'm going to be decisive. On the way home, I didn't call my wife. I didn't send a speech. I stopped at my office first. My colleague Marcus, older guy, blunt, the type who doesn't ask questions he doesn't need answered, was in his chair sipping coffee. He looked at my face and said, "That rooftop thing got worse, didn't it?" I set the folder on my desk. Yeah. Marcus nodded like he'd expected it. You want advice or tools? Tools, I replied. He pointed a thumb toward the file cabinet. Printer works. Scanner works. And if you need a place to think without someone talking at you, take the conference room. I smirked. You're a romantic. Marcus snorted. I am practical. Same thing, just less embarrassing. I spent an hour making copies, organizing pages, building a clean timeline. Not for a courtroom, for my own sanity, for a clean exit. Then I went to the bank and did what adults do when trust is gone. I separated access. Joint account stayed, but spending ability changed. Cards tied to my income, limited. Automatic payments rerouted to a personal account. The easy life pipeline narrowed down to essentials. Not petty, not punitive, just simple. I'm not funding disrespect. That night, my wife walked in humming like she had no weight in her world. She tossed her keys in the bowl, heels off, phone out. Then she frowned. My card isn't working, she called from the kitchen. It's declining. I didn't look up from the table. It's not a glitch. She walked in fast. What did you do? I set my pen down. I changed access. Her eyes widened. You're kidding. I met her stare. No. She laughed like she couldn't believe the audacity. So, This is your punishment? You're going to control me with money. I nodded slowly. No, I'm going to stop pretending it's ours while you treat it like yours and treat me like a prop. Her voice sharpened. You're acting like a dictator. I smiled slightly. Funny, because I remember being told to relax and stop being dramatic when you sat on a man's lap. She stepped closer, finger pointed like she was addressing an employee. You don't get to do this. You're overreacting. You're proving you're insecure. I leaned back in the chair. Keep using that word. It doesn't change facts. She stared, then shifted tactics fast. This woman could change masks like outfits. Her shoulders softened. Her voice got warmer. Okay, she said. I hear you. I am sorry. For real. I didn't realize how it looked. First illusion. Light apology. Careful tone. Like she was trying to slide the old rules back into place. I nodded once. Good. Then you'll have no problem living with the new setup while we figure out what's next. Her smile froze. What's next? Clarity, I said. And distance. She swallowed irritation. Nick, come on. We can fix this. I'll pull back from that whole team dynamic. I stood. You don't pull back from disrespect. You stop. She reached for my arm. Can we at least go to dinner tomorrow? Just us. I stepped back, not rude, just firm. No. Her eyes flashed. So you're punishing me. I shook my head. I'm protecting myself. She walked away stiff, but I caught the quick glance at her phone. Even in the middle of repair, she needed her audience. 2 days later, she tried a different approach. Bigger. Flashier. She came home early with groceries and a bright smile, like she was hosting a show. I'm making your favorite, she announced. And I got those tickets you wanted for that weekend thing. I looked up from the counter. What weekend thing? She blinked, then smiled wider. The one you mentioned months ago. You always say we don't do fun things. Second illusion. Over-the-top sweetness. Sudden support. Not subtle at all. I dried my hands and faced her. You're trying to buy your way back into control. Her smile faltered. That's not fair. I nodded. It's accurate. She put the bags down harder than necessary. Why are you being like this? I'm trying. No, I said calm. You're managing. There's a difference. Her eyes narrowed. What do you want then? For me to beg? I shrugged. I want reality. Without performance. She crossed her arms. So what? You're just going to stay cold forever? You're going to punish me because I'm successful and social. I gave a small laugh. You're not successful because you're social. You're social because you want leverage. Her face hardened. You don't know what you're talking about. I nodded. I know enough. That night she left the room, slammed a door, made sure I heard it. She wanted a reaction. She didn't get one. The next morning, she was quiet. Too quiet. She kissed my cheek again, automatic, and said, I'm meeting the team today. Don't wait up. I looked at her. Which team? She smirked. You're still interrogating. Goo. I walked past her, grabbed my jacket. I'm not interrogating. I am tracking. She scoffed. You really think you're going to scare me with your little spreadsheets? I stopped at the door and looked back. No, I'm going to free myself with them. That afternoon, Emma called me. Ryan's out, she said. He's in my place, picking up some things. Your wife might show. I didn't ask why she called. I already knew. The final test was coming. I drove over, parked down the street, and walked up like I owned my own choices. Emma met me at the door, eyes sharp. Before you walk in, she said, I need to be clear. I'm not doing anything stupid with you. I offered you something out of anger. You said no. That told me you're not weak. I nodded. Good. Then we keep it clean. Inside, Ryan wasn't there anymore. Emma led me into her apartment and gestured toward the living room. Sit, she said. We wait. I sat on the edge of a chair, jacket still on. Not a date. Not a game. Just a man standing in the truth. Emma set her phone on a shelf, screen facing outward, quietly recording audio. Nope, big announcement. Just preparation. You expecting her to show? I asked. Emma's mouth tightened. Your wife likes control. She doesn't like losing an audience. 10 minutes later, the door banged open. My wife walked in like she owned the place. Then she saw me. Her face went white, then red, then twisted into something panicked and furious at the same time. What is this? She snapped. Are you serious? I stood calm. Yes. She looked at Emma like Emma was trash. So this is what you do. You go after husbands now. Emma crossed her arms. I go after truth. You should try it. My wife's eye shot back to me. Nick, don't do this. Don't be stupid. I tilted my head. Stupid would have been staying blind. She stepped toward me fast. This is not you. You're better than this. I nodded. I am. That's why nothing happened here. She blinked. What? I gestured to my clothes. Look at me. Use your eyes. Her mouth opened, then closed. The script in her head didn't fit the scene. Then she switched tactics so hard it was almost impressive. Her knees hit the floor. She grabbed my hand like she was drowning. Okay, she breathed. Okay, I messed up. I didn't think you'd really leave. Please. No tears yet. Just urgency. Performance warming up. I looked down at her, not angry, just done. You didn't think, I said. That's the problem. She squeezed my hand. Nick, I'll fix it. I'll quit the team. I'll switch departments. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't do this. I pull my hand back gently. I don't want anything from you. Her eyes widened. Don't say that. Emma's phone sat on the shelf, quietly capturing every word. My wife didn't notice. She was too busy fighting for control. I love you, she said quickly. You know I do. I gave a small, tired smile. You love what I provide. Stability. Image. The perfect couple photo. Her face tightened. That's not true. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folder. Copies, timelines clean and organized. I have everything, I said. Dates, reservations, messages, the fake session, all of it. Her breathing changed. Fussed, shallow. She stood up, shaky now, and tried a new angle. Anger. You went through my life like a spy, she hissed. That's disgusting. I nodded. Interesting how you're offended by me organizing facts, not by you creating them. She stepped close, finger in my chest. You're ruining everything. You're going to destroy our life because you can't handle me being desired. I looked her in the eye. You destroyed it the moment you made me a joke in public and smiled while doing it. Her face flashed. There it was again, that little satisfaction trying to hide behind outrage. Emma spoke softly, almost bored. And for the record, I'm recording this. So later you can't rewrite it. My wife's head snapped toward Emma. You're recording me? Emma shrugged. I learned from you. Control the narrative, right? My wife's confidence cracked. Real fear finally showed up, not about love. About losing the story she wanted to tell. She turned back to me, voice trembling. Nick, please. Don't do this. We can go home. We can talk. I slid the folder back into my jacket. There's nothing to talk about. Her eyes were wet now, but it felt late. Like the water came after the fire was already out. She grabbed my sleeve. You're really leaving. I looked down at her hand and then back up. I already left. You just noticed. I walked to the door, opened it, and paused long enough to give her one final sentence. The kind that closes a chapter clean. You wanted the image of a powerful woman, I said. Congratulations. Now you can be powerful alone. Then I walked out. I didn't slam anything. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I just removed myself from her system. Months later, my life got quieter in the best way. I moved into a new place with clean lines and no tension in the air. I kept my routine, gym, work, weekends with friends who didn't treat loyalty like a joke. Marcus came over sometimes, brought steaks, talked about anything but drama. I started seeing a woman named Lauren. Steady, direct, no performances. The first time I set a boundary with her, she nodded and said, Good. I like men who mean what they say. That was new, in a good way. As for my wife, I heard things through the same corporate grapevine she used to worship. Her perfect couple image didn't survive long without the couple part. People stopped applauding. The attention moved on. Ryan's life didn't look fun either. Emma didn't play nice, and she didn't play loud. She played smart. My wife tried to spin it, tried to look like she chose herself, but the shine wasn't there. When you build your status on other people's silence, you panic when the silence ends. And I never went back. Not once. Here's what I took from it, and what I'd tell any man sitting across from me with a tired look in his eyes. First, don't argue with disrespect like it's a misunderstanding. The rooftop wasn't a mistake. It was a public test. The real warning wasn't her being on his lap. It was her turning it on me in front of witnesses. When someone can humiliate you and then call you dramatic for noticing, you're not in a conversation. You're in a control game. Second, facts beat debates. If I'd stayed in the loop of explain yourself, reassure me, promise me, I would have become her favorite kind of husband. Manageable. Emma didn't bring me emotions. She brought me a timeline. That's what snapped me out of the fog. And once you have clarity, you stop being a passenger. Third, boundaries without consequences are just speeches. I didn't win by being louder. I won by changing access, my time, my presence, my money flow, my participation in her image. The mistake would have been bargaining for respect or trying to outplay her with some petty move. I didn't need to become anything ugly. I just needed to leave clean with the truth organized and my dignity intact. Comfort is cheap. Respect is the real currency. And once it's spent, you don't keep shopping at the same store.